of our paper is how to manage risks and how development banks can choose the best instruments so they can maximize their impact on development. We have different instruments, loans, equity guarantees, others, which are available to development banks. There's been a recent emphasis on those that maximize attracting additional private finance, which is good, but it implies using very complex and often indirect instruments, which are not so good for policy steer to maximize the value of the flows of finance to meeting the sustainable development goals and support major structural transformation to make the economies greener, fairer, and more dynamic. So our key findings are that it's very important to distinguish between real economy and financial engineering risks. Real economy risks include, for example, uncertainty around innovation, technical issues like geological factors, lending to smaller companies, poorer economies. And financial engineering risks are those that are linked to often complex and opaque financial products. And we think the first is important and the second should be minimized. And we also believe that one very valuable way of increasing the impact of development banks is to increase their capital, both for multilateral and national development banks. This provides a high multiplier effect and helps governments deploy in the most efficient way some of their resources. Our policy recommendations are that loans, which are the most common instrument, are also the easiest to implement. So they're particularly valuable, for example, in COVID times. Equity instruments have the attraction that they help share risks and profits between the development bank and the companies, allowing development banks to benefit when the companies are very profitable. And finally, guarantees have an important role to play in periods of high uncertainty, like COVID times. We also conclude that further research is needed, and we identified a number of important research topics, like the role of equity, how can the framework be applied to different sectors and to different categories of countries by income level. Also about rating agencies, should they be regulated? And finally, do some research on specific country or regional contexts, Sub-Saharan Africa, the European Investment Bank, and the Chinese Development Bank.